Do you have any advice for running more interesting and dangerous city campaigns? Ones with lots of varied districts and locations to explore.
A great deal of inspiration for such cities can be found from real cities. You just need to find cosmopolitan, multicultural cities, preferably ports, probably, because they will have more of a history of that going back. And then look at them, examine them from their history all the way through to the modern day, and consider how you could translate that across. So different people of different ethnicities, cultures, religions and so on tend to settle in similar areas so that their communities can cross-support each other, but they also integrate with the broader area around them to one degree or another, and maybe they have a reputation for a particular kind of work or produce or whatever. Various waves of immigration into London over the years have had, various things that they were good at, particular weavers or lace makers, dock workers from various different types of country and so on. So Limehouse used to be Chinatown, essentially. Then when we had a wave of immigration in the 60s and 70s, areas like Brixton became very West Indian. Then, in more modern times, we've had an influx of South Asian people. So parts of North London, have become more colourful as a result. Muslim immigration has led to a spread of stores offering halal options. You've got a Jewish district, and yet it's all still intermixed, while at the same time it lends colour and flavour to those areas. Now, I'm making this video in English. You are probably, according to my statistics, from an Anglo-speaking country primarily. North America, Australia, England. You're probably from one of those places. So you might want to avoid the obvious ones, like London, like New York. You might want to look further afield and look to big cities in other parts of the world, big port cities in other parts of the world, and draw upon them for inspiration, so that it's something a little different to what your players are used to or what they might immediately think of. And then you need to translate whatever you do find into whatever your world that you're playing in is like. So maybe you don't have a particular ethnic district for an ethnicity of humans, rather that's the part of the city where the elves live. Maybe in and around one of the great parks of the city, so they can be close to nature. Maybe the dwarves have carved out a couple of streets for themselves where they sell toys and mechanisms and artifice, things like that. Fantasy cities that you can look to for reference, I think Cadwallon, if you can find it still, is a good example of a fantasy city. I think Terry Pratchett's Ankh-Morpork from Discworld, it's actually a really great example. You can find maps of it, and they're insanely detailed, and they describe all kinds of stuff. It's a walled city, which is a fantasy sort of staple, and there are districts and places that have names that feel at once humorous and authentic. But a great deal of inspiration, even for a serious campaign, can be drawn from looking at Discworld, looking at Ankh-Morpork, especially since in a process that mimics what happens in real life, Ankh-Morpork has become layered and changed and morphed by events and developed over time. And the same way that a city, starts as a village, grows to a town, districts get repurposed but keep their old names and things like that. So it feels like a real city in a way that a lot of fictional cities don't. So I think that's a great touchstone you can boop for inspiration for your own. But yeah, just shamelessly rip off real life, and don't be afraid to be wild and strange, because real cities are often wild and strange. Paris's catacombs, London's sewers, weird follies and arches and statues, strange layouts according to esoteric or occult patterns. These are all things that happen in real life, so why not do them for your city? And as a result, if you layer on that history, that sense of authenticity and that oddness and strangeness, I think that is how you end up with a compelling city.